everyone, and welcome to the studio again. A little bit chilly today, so I have got the fire on. It's quite cold down here in the basement, but obviously been a beautiful day, lovely spring flowers out as I went on our walk today, and I thought it would be a good subject for us to do tonight. I've got these are the two paintings that I had up. I've been looking at a lot of my work because I've been posting it up onto my Saatchi site, and I'll need to finish doing that, but that's where they are. And so I just wanted to have a sort of go at showing you how to be that expressive, if you like, with flowers, and to not get too uptight about them. This is the second one that you saw, and I was just looking through and thought, well, I might as well show you this one, which is a more recent one, drawn last summer, of lilies in my friend's garden. And it's about having that sort of energy and freedom, because obviously I've done something you can see there, started to show you today, so I can do a little bit of this is one I prepared earlier moment. But the tulips have moved since I drew them an hour ago. So you have to be kind of okay about that and not worry about being, we're looking for a different kind of accuracy, if you like. We're looking for accuracy in the kind of feeling and shape and look of the flower, and not kind of worrying about the accuracy of is it exactly in the right place. So that's what we'll be looking at. I'm going to come round so that we can start to do this. Oh. This little system of putting my watercolour paper is something that I saw at a demonstration for the Milton Keynes Art Society, and have used this pretty much ever since for watercolour. It saves me stretching it. So I'm going to take this out and put a nice fresh sheet in so that we can get to that point together, and then I can pull that one across. And this just holds everything in place, and it kind of keeps it flat, so it's quite useful. And I just clip it with bulldog clips to hold it tight. And I made this myself. It's been cut out of hardboard, and I cut it with a Stanley knife, so it's not too difficult to make. Oh, just move those a bit further apart so I can get it down there. And I'm going to start by using some pastels. Just want to do my drawing quite freely, and sometimes it helps. I don't want to work with pencil, so I've got here some lovely Jackson's pastels that I bought a little while ago. As you can see, if you know me, the orange is well and truly used up and rather crumbly, but we're going to be using two different ones today. I'm going to be using this one and this lovely purple, which has also got orange on it. And I'm going to do my drawing, and I kind of don't want to think about having a flower pot, although it's in quite a nice vase. I don't really want to think about that. I almost want to think about them as if they were sort of growing in the wild, I guess. So I'm going to be quite, I'm going to change it a little bit, I guess. And I'm going to start with the leaves. And they've sort of spread out quite far, and I don't mind that I'm not going to get them all in. So I'm going to start with this leaf here. And I want to be able to get the tulips in and make the tulips the main thing, so I'm not going to fuss too much. But the leaves are quite useful to help me start off. I want to put some wrinkly these lovely wrinkly things that are happening. And I'm just going to sort of indicate that other one. But I'm going to bring it out here as if it's coming into the ground, as I don't want to think about the vase. Saves me having to draw it, basically. I'm just being a little bit lazy, I guess. One of the things I want to notice is the stalks. The stalks are really helpful. So I'm going to put a couple of those in, and I'm going to put them in quite, they are really straight. And so this one here is quite far out, but I'm going to bring it in a little bit so that I get that one in.
Can you move the vase to the right slightly?
Yeah, I can do that. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's a shame if you can't see it, isn't it? Thank you, Pete. And I'm just kind of being quite loose and free with these curly leaves. And then I'm going to come to my purple pastel. And I'm just wanting to help myself so that it makes it easy to see. There's a nice sticking up leaf there that I just want to put in. Whoop. It's not a one to drop on the floor, that pastel, because it would break into smithereens. So I just want to give myself a little bit of drawing, because I can see into that one tulip, which is rather lovely, so I want to make sure I think about that. And then I've got some up here, kind of wrinkly things happening, so just going to indicate that. They're just beautiful. Little bunch. I was a bit worried I wouldn't be able to pick any up, that there wouldn't be any anywhere, but I did manage to get these in the co-op in Bedford. I'm just kind of indicating. I'm not going to put that far one out there. Obviously, I don't mind it coming off the edge of the page. I'm just going to put it in kind of there. And then I'm going to hint at the rest of the leaves. And again, I have a chance to put in some nice straight stalks. They're really helpful to describe the characteristic of a tulip. It's nice that you can see the pointy leaves just there. It's quite full of stuff going on. Now, I've picked up some really nice paints to work with tonight because it's nice to have the right colours. So you will need to work with a sort of pinky red. If you have a sort of basic set, then you'll probably have alizarin crimson. But I've got here a wonderful colour called quinacridone magenta, which I'm going to use for these colours. You could work with anything that's that sort of pinky red will help with these tulips. That's my kind of main colour to have found. And then I very rarely use greens out of a tube, and in fact I really go on about how you must always mix your greens. But tonight I'm going to use two of Daniel Smith's greens, which is Green Gold and Cascade Green, which are just delicious and possibly the only two greens I would ever use in a tube, from a tube. I've got some indigo, and then I've got nice fresh lemon yellow, so quite an interesting little palette. And just to start me off, what I want to try and establish is kind of the green freshness of this lovely bunch of flowers. Now they've dried a little bit, the colours on here, so I just need to get them moving. And I'm going to bring some of that green gold down, but I'm really kind of just wanting a lightness going on here. And I've got my great big brush, and I'm just wanting to be really relaxed about where it's going. Looking at my drawing, but I'm not going to stress too much about it being in it, you know. I just want it to be lovely and flowing. And this is how you get that sort of energy that you saw in those pictures that I showed you earlier. Now I do want the stalks to be quite bright green. So let's just put those in, make sure they're there. And let's bring, this Cascade Green, this one in the middle here, is just lovely. It kind of granulates and separates out and makes some beautiful colours. A little bit careful there because I don't want it to run into the tulip too much. And I want to get some nice wetness going on down here, bring that down. And already I want to make sure that I've got this kind of stuff happening, because I want this to be a really energetic, whole lump of paint went on there. So I'm quite happy to let that flow, and I might even just pick it up, which will make it go out of focus and give it a little bit of a shake. So it begins to run down. I want to sort of encourage that running and flowing thing to be going on. Pop my brush in there. I'm just going to clean that off. So I've got a nice clean palette. I want to keep my colours beautifully fresh for this. So, you know, if you're working with daffodils or whatever, you know, you want to keep your palette clean as you go to the yellow, so it's absolutely singingly yellow. And now I'm coming to pick up this quinacridone. Magentas and kind of colours like that will just look, yeah, if you got it lovely and pink, it's the right kind of colour. I'm going to keep it pale to begin with, because I want to be able to put other colours in on top. But again, I'm going to be quite free with it, picking up some of that colour, which sort of doesn't matter. But it's quite fresh. I guess I could have blotted that out if I wanted to. Just going to put that in there. And then I'm going to lift out the centre of that one. I can see inside, but it looks better if it's picked up and lifted rather than just left as a white. There's a little bit of that one around there. And they're lovely and loose and free. And we're already beginning to have quite a nice image. Just noticing I've left some of the leaves. Let's just pop those in. That'll be nice. And I can also just let some of that splash as well. Now that was the point that I got to where you saw the picture that I had up at the beginning. I'm just going to take that off. Let that to dry. And what you'll notice as I bring this one across is that it's very, very much paler. And it's one of the things you need to notice about watercolour. Sometimes you can be a bit scared about putting something down too strongly, but it will fade and get paler as it dries. So be brave if you can. You know, don't panic, Mr. Mannering. So I needed that to be nice and dry, ready to do this next layer, because obviously it's a bit hard to work wet into wet. So it's just been drying for about an hour or so, 40 minutes I guess. So now I'm going to be thinking about some of the detail in here. I quite like the start, and that sort of first bit of energy really sets up the painting. So you kind of need to have that sort of very energetic start, if you like. The next thing I'm going to think about, I'm going to bring down some of the indigo, a little bit of that Cascade green. Yeah, actually that's nice. Bringing the green gold into it, and I want to start thinking just a little bit tonally now. So I'm just going to begin to describe some of the tone in here. Still allowing it to be quite wet and flowing. If you start to get too serious with it too soon, or at all really, you'll lose that kind of lovely flowing energy. But I want to, obviously in all the leaves they're kind of scrunched up, aren't they? There's all sorts of stuff, and it's quite helpful to begin to kind of put some dark sort of in between. You can make a leaf stand out by putting dark around it, which is quite helpful. Obviously I'm slightly at an angle so you can see what's going on, so it's going to run, which is useful. The leaf I missed there. And I'm also able to put the colour down a little bit more strongly, so I can use sort of thicker paint now to kind of describe what's going on. But it's really, really important not to cover every bit of your first wash, because if you lose all that, it just is so sad. It sort of becomes overworked. It doesn't look so nice. So you want to keep these areas of first wash. Once again with that, it's a bit wetter than that. I want to allow some of that colour to kind of flick into there. And I guess it's kind of, it's working like this means that you can make mistakes and it's not such a big deal. I notice that there's a lovely stalk there and no tulip on the end of it, so I need to put that in. Let's just put the stem in really strongly. I think Archie's making an appearance there, isn't he? Oh, I want to put some of the pastel in, otherwise it will look a bit of an odd one out. Actually, in the warmth of the room, that one's opened up rather nicely, so I might just allow it to do that here. Oh. And I'm bringing them obviously closer together than they are in the bunch, because I want to be able to see them. Now, really important on a flower to not go round the outside edges. Now, there are some drawing lines there, but if you go around the outside edges all the time, and make lines, it makes the petals really thick and look a little bit odd. So you want to sort of keep to finding shapes and shadows that describe what's going on. There's a little fold in that one there. But isn't going to just be on both edges. It just starts to look really flat and odd. So you can do lines, but you just need to make sure they kind of connect up to other things. Just soften that. So I am kind of really looking at my my flowers now. I'm trying to observe them a little bit more carefully. And while that happens, obviously things will dry, which is quite helpful. But again, I must leave the first wash. I love that where you get a nice edge of a flower. Let's describe that one with that one there. And then this brush just makes those little points at the top. It does it for you. If you can find a brush stroke that will describe something for you, then always use that. A little bit of tone underneath. Then I'm coming down in brush size a little bit. Which is this one. Let's just clean my palette. It's getting a bit messy. And I want to kind of think about that. You want to find some little bits of detail that kind of are really important. So on this tulip here, I've got the inside stamen showing. So I'm just going to put those in, because by having that, it just gives you a lovely bit of interest that you otherwise wouldn't see. That's too wet, can't do that one yet. This one has got a little bit of yellow, so I'll make sure it heads into the right place. Now I'm going to pick up some of that magenta, and I'm also going to have a little bit of indigo in here, because underneath at the bottom of these, it's got a sort of blue feel to it, which makes the bottoms of the tulips, and it does it on all of them, so you can kind of pretty much go round and go, okay, I'm going to do that to all of them. That one isn't connecting to a stem, so when I get a chance I need to put that in. They've got this little hint of blueness in the bottom of them, which is quite nice. And I'm coming back into these, into this dark area. I'm really putting in some drawing now. Need some more indigo. And the indigo is really important because it helps to give you some gaps between, and it starts to make it look three-dimensional. Just need to concentrate for a sec. And you can see just there it resisted slightly with the pastel drawing, which is quite lovely. It's I love the pastel bits in there. Put some of those darks, really strong darks in, just to give some indicators as to what's going on. And although these are quite expressive, and can you see that I'm sort of, in a sense, you do this expressive burst at the beginning, and then the sort of energy slows down a little bit, and I begin to be a little bit more careful. So I'm just picking up that other green, the cascade green, just allowing some of and just kind of allowing another hint of a different colour in there. Just going to use that to put the stalk in of that one. You can see that resist thing happening, can't you, there? Back to the big brush. Oh. I quite like that green, it's quite useful. I'm just going to again get some of that going in there. Getting a bit too tidy. It's nice if it can sort of run off. There's an indication almost that there's maybe grass or something going on. I don't know, bees buzzing around when you start to get that in. And I'm going to take this bit of yellow, the yellow, and the stamen is just sort of got a little hint of it's not so yellow. So let's just bring that down, and in there I can see the stamen. I'm just going to put that in, and now that's dry I can probably show, yeah, that. Let's bring those in and off, and just begin to kind of, and I guess, you know, you can keep working and working on these. I suppose I always say that to you, don't I? What I'm going to do is kind of, I suppose, it's a cheap fair kind of a thing. My grandpa used to say, if you're going to cheat, cheat fair. And I'm going to just pick up another material again, because actually it's quite nice as softening that edge there. It's too hard. That one there. It's quite nice to head back to the material that you started out with if you were drawing with pastel to begin with. So I'm just going to pick up some of the pastels and pick up some other colours. Because I've got a sort of yellowy one here, and I just want to come round and I'm going to sort of do some drawing lines that kind of go around and pick out. They're not kind of just taking one shape, they're kind of heading round other bits. Hopefully you can see that. And might just indicate some of the leaves behind, and I quite like that they're just drawn in with the pastel. And then I'm going to take this again, what that bright luminous one would feel like. Oh, that's quite fun. And pick up just something else to kind of put in some other marks, if you like, onto the painting, and it just adds another dimension. I quite like doing the pastel in on top. I'm just going to pick up a dark one. This is like the dark green here, to do the same again, and it brings it together. And you could of course wait and do this and do these sharper lines with your watercolour. There's no reason why you couldn't do that, but I suppose one, I'm impatient. I quite want to just get on with it and have it done. I'm going to paint. Do they look better with those in? Yeah, maybe they do. This is why I like having people in the class, because they go, oh yeah, don't do that, or no, don't do that. Just put some of those leaves behind. And you can see the pastel resists the watercolour, which is quite nice to have those two things sort of working together. Final things to do, just put some little kind of marks on some of those petals which have kind of a bit of, not every one, sometimes you can overdo it by doing it on every one, but look at those lovely marks on that one. Picking up some of the pink pastel, which is quite cool. Has some curling shapes, very much using just the edge. Oh, I was about to do it on every one. Having said don't do that. But there's quite a nice little thing happening there, just to give some texture. I think that's probably done. I don't want to do any more to that. I'll come around here so it's easier. So hopefully that shows you something a little bit energetic. Have a go with all kinds of flowers. Obviously I used daffodils in the ones that I put to promote this class, so you could use that. Oh, it's with this. I need to say to you as well, I'm going to not live stream on Friday or Monday. As it's Easter weekend, it would be quite nice for me to have a break. And also, I need to spend some time just preparing for the start of next term, because I want to have a different way of working for those people who want a sort of deeper instruction, if you like, and want an art class more like, I suppose, the things that happen when they come into the studio here. And also there comes a point where it would be quite helpful for me to get some of the fees that I won't be getting because no one's coming in the class, so there'll be a little bit of a charge on that. So just to sort of heads up for that. So watch this space, but I'll be back Wednesday night next week with, I'm going to do another spring flowers. I'll work with daffodils next week. Hope that's okay. Get in touch, message me. I'm hoping to send out a newsletter. Don't forget, comment underneath and put your pictures. I absolutely adore seeing them. It's just brilliant. It helps me to know as well that you're actually here, or you're actually there. So thanks very much for doing that. You're amazing, and I've loved what you've been doing so far. Keep it up. Thanks very much, and have a really happy Easter weekend.